Okay, so part two, I want to talk a little bit about the reason I went to the conference and then some of the developmental theories that I um, like and also ones that kind of made me think, at least in this realm, don't fit. So the reason I went to this conference was actually from a suggestion by my boss who has worked the Black Education Impact Conference before. And he figured since I'm a counseling student, to actually experience some of the conversation and context that goes into education and the disparities in education, he just figured I would take a lot from it, which obviously in the end I did. So that's kind of the logistics of why I went. The other reason I went was because it's always interesting to get another view of something that you hear about, again, in books and in classes. It's different to actually experience it and actually have someone say from their life, from their parents' lives, from their younger siblings' lives, what it's like. So, to the theorist I was looking at was definitely Bronfenbrenner, just because he discusses a lot about the overarching aspects of culture and how culture is much more than one aspect of someone's life, and how that one aspect is usually multiplied by several to get a better picture of someone. So someone's race is not just their race, it's also the city that they're born in. It's the religion that they're born into, the type of household they're born into. All of that plays a role. But yet there are still some underlining consistencies between some races versus others. So I just felt, or I still believe, to understand this idea that the disparity in education, and not just the African American population, but many minority populations. Bronfenbrenner is a very well developed theory, the ecological theory, that can actually help explain how or where the disparities are coming from. And on the flip side, looking back at old school theorists, it just reminds me why someone like Freud, even though he has good intentions and has some very solid thoughts, it was all in a vacuum. You do this step, and then you do this step, and then you do this step. And if you falter on one of these steps, you start becoming fixated or obsessed. Well, that's looking through one context. That's not to say everyone has the same or is given the same opportunity to get from one step to another. So, in summary, it's Bronfenbrenner looks at the bigger picture and everything that goes into someone's life, whereas Freud, I think, looks at things more in the vacuum. Still valid, but not when you're looking at it through a developmental sense of why is there a disparity in education? Why is it assumed I go to college, whereas an African American with the same intellectual ability doesn't? Bronfenbrenner explains that. Freud just kind of misses a little bit of it. So that is all I got.